Fuck you, I'm changing the channel.
Well, first of all, you should not want to change the channel because we're gonna review some good shit. But anyways, we are back here once again to review the latest episode of Euphoria. This, of course, is season 2, episode 7, The Theater and Its Double. What a fucking whirlwind of an episode to really talk about. I'll just preface this right off the bat. This is not going to be like I honestly challenge anyone that's like recapping Euphoria on like a weekly basis to try to review this episode in a way that isn't messy as fuck, because I don't think it's possible. So we're going to try to do the best that we can here. But before we do, I do have to introduce, of course, my guest here with me, who changed his name. I'm really upset about it, but of course it's Dan Stevens. I didn't know how long we were gonna do that.
Burritos,
yes. Maybe that's that was the food they must have been selling during like the intermission of Lexi's play. You know, they always have like snacks that you can get before you like head into the theater. So burritos is what you could indulge in. I don't know why specifically burritos, but I guess to just like set the mood for the episode. But no, Henry, I want to hear your thoughts on this episode overall, because I feel like this is an episode we all were like very much looking forward to. We've all wanted to see more of Lexi. We've all wanted to see more of the play. We got to see both things in this episode. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, it was a really good episode. Like we got a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, it's basically like kind of Lexi's special episode a bit, but we got a lot of experimental shit as well. So
this is really where they take like the experimental approach they've been going for all season to like an 11. Like this is the most artsy stuff they could have come up with. But I feel like an episode like this, you know, that mostly takes place during a play, it's very fitting because, you know, it's a play. It's probably going to get really out there. It's going to, we got the sense it was like very avant-garde. And it very much is just from like what we see in this episode. I think this is by far one of my favorite episodes of the season. I really like the insight we got for Lexi. I know that it was very confusing, but I actually really appreciate that. I like that this episode didn't try to treat you like you're dumb. It really kind of like went with your own interpretation, because, you know, right off the bat, we don't really know if everything we saw in this episode is exactly the way it played out in real life, or if it's just the characters reliving those specific experiences, you know, through their perspective. And I actually think that's really cool. Like, I like the idea that we're not seeing things exactly as they played out, and you kind of leave it up to your own interpretation. But pretty much all of it, except for a few things, centers around Lexi here. I want to start off by, I think, talking about the stuff that doesn't super involve her, because this episode, most of it is in Lexi's perspective, but there is some diversions here. We're going to talk about, we got to talk about, hopefully someone we're not about to lose. We got to talk about our boy Fesco here, Henry. Oh my, this man's in a bit of a pickle, for sure. Definitely he's in the predicament. Probably, we knew that something bad was going to happen based on the events of last week with the way things were gearing up, but we have not seen the half of it here. And I actually really like that. I like that we haven't really gotten to see like the full extent of what's going to happen with Fesco. But we open this up and we get to see a little bit more with him and Lexi's relationship. These two have basically been talking on a daily basis. And I like this, but I'm not going to lie, I wish we could have gotten more. It really, again, just felt like they were trying to make up for lost time in that way. I wish we could have seen more of these two interacting, but I did really like seeing Lexi, you know, talk to Fesco and really see like her perspective of putting on this play, because obviously this play means a lot to her. This is kind of her way of kind of finally being in her element, which is not something we've seen from Lexi before. So throughout this episode, you know, while usually Lexi's very like shy, kind of introverted, here, I mean, this is the most excited we've ever seen her. She's straight up like barking orders at people behind the scenes and things like that. It was really great to see. But the big thing, of course, is Lexi's intentions. Her intentions are obviously good. She's hoping that this play can help people see the light. She hopes people are able to see the true intent, but she's not really sure how Cassie specifically is going to react. And we knew when she said that, like, there was probably going to be some crazy stuff revealed here. And Fesco talks about, like, you need to basically just focus on the intentions. Like, that's what's important. It's not really about it's not really about how everyone perceives it. It's more about the intentions. And you can see, I think Lexi, while she's saying that, like, she doesn't want Cassie to suffer, I think based on especially the way we've seen Cassie treat her in this show, I feel like some of this, it was probably the intention where she wanted Cassie to kind of see, like, this is how I view you, this is how you treat me. But I thought this was really good when it comes to, Lexi and Fesco. I've enjoyed their scenes a lot together. I wish we could have gotten more of it, but I think this scene did, for me at least, make up for it.
Yeah, I like that stuff a lot. Like,
yeah,
I like seeing that Fez was a big help in, like, getting this play off the ground. And yeah, it's definitely, like, I noticed, like, it kind of, like, ding.
Like, that was your bright idea. That was the idea for helping Lexi put on the play.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, we heard, like, a lot of the stuff in this episode and like the last episode, like some of the same stuff.
Yeah, we did.
And yeah, it was definitely, like, I don't know what I was gonna say, but yeah.
It'll come back to you. But anyway, the rest of this episode is basically like a ticking time bomb for Fez. Like, something bad is going to happen. You just don't know the full extent of what's going to happen because everything seems like it's going to work out. He tells Lexi that he's going to be sitting in the front row. He gets all decked out in, like, this suit. He has, like, Faye, help him, like, tie the tie and things like that. She, like, steams the suit for him. He has flowers for Lexi. Like, this is probably the most calm we've ever seen Fesco. He's so relieved of stress in this episode because he just wants to focus on getting to that play. That's all that matters to him. He doesn't seem worried about anything. But the second that Custer arrives, it's like, oh no, what the hell is about to happen? And we don't get to see what actually is going to happen. But if I had to speculate, I think that there's already a stakeout going on. We know that Custer says that, like, he was incriminating evidence, against, he was going to corroborate the evidence against Fesco and Ashtray for Mouse's death. And I think that the cops are already out there. We see Ashtray is starting to get very suspicious. He has, like, the knife in his jacket pocket. I fully believe that Ashtray's either getting seriously hurt or dying next week because we've really been focusing a lot this season on, one, the relationship between Fesco and Ashtray, but also just how Ashtray tends to really react before thinking. He tends to really be overly protective of Fesco to the point where if he gets even slightly suspicious, he gets very violent. And I don't think it's gonna go well next week. I don't really know what's about to happen here, but, like, I'm prepared for the worst.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying that, like, he's probably gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Fesco would die. Like, I know a lot of people are saying it's going to happen, but I just feel like there's so much more they need to do with that character before he dies. Like, I do think something really, like, earth-shattering is going to happen to him next week, and it's probably, like, if I had to guess, I think the way we're going to end off next week, obviously I don't like to predict because it's very hard to predict a lot of things that happen in this show. But if I had to predict, I think what they're really going to set up is something really bad's going to happen, and Fesco's going to come to a point where he doesn't really want to do this anymore. And I think we're going to see him maybe get into that in season 3, but we'll have to see. That's really what I think is going to happen with Fesco. But that's all we get with Fesco this week.
It's definitely going to be some more next week. Like, there's a lot of tension going on there.
Yeah.
gonna build the fuck up.
Yeah, and who knows how bad it's really gonna get either. So yeah,
and who knows? Like maybe even like Faye and or Custer will die.
Well, I think Faye's definitely dying. Faye's definitely dying. She's literally a criminal. Like she's definitely dying. Custer, I'm not sure. I think there's a possibility he could. I think Ashtray's probably gonna stab Custer, but I don't know if Custer's actually gonna die. We'll have to see what happens there. But that's everything we get in terms of like the non-Lexi stuff. Let's get into just how crazy meta this play really was, because we knew that this play was going to imitate a lot of what happened, in the show. I don't think we expected it to be quite to this extent. The first part of it I really want to talk about is Rue and Lexi. We've focused on this friendship a little bit. We've seen that Lexi's been very supportive towards Rue. She's even tried to get her the help. She's, felt guilt when she hasn't been able to be there for her. She wished she was there more for her. And, throughout a lot of the show, we're kind of wondering, like, why are you putting so much time into someone like Rue, who doesn't seem to value you much as a friend? And I think here we really did actually get to see why that friendship is so important. And that's something I really liked about this episode. And this does not just apply to Rue and Lexi. We actually get to see a lot of context for why these relationships are so important. And with Rue, I think this was really like the one girl that Lexi felt like she could be herself around. Like she had a voice. Rue was someone who took a lot of risks. She, found herself to be someone that she could rely on. They emotionally supported each other. And I think we really got to see that in this episode.
Yeah, that's definitely really good stuff to see. Like I know, like it said that Rue and Lexi have been friends since preschool, and
which maybe we'll see that one day.
Yeah, and like I like the stuff. It's like where Rue was telling Lexi like they don't have to be like cool or anything, and it's their friendship really made both of them who they are, I think.
I think so too. And I think especially if we're heading down like a recovery path for Rue, I think the first step for her is going to be try to like rekindle that friendship. And hopefully she's able to, because I think we really do see that like Rue was like so much happier when the two of them were actually friends and like actually like supported each other in that way. And it's that much more devastating when, even though we get brief glimpses of it, like, Rue's doing weed for the first time. This also seemed like the first time she met up with Fesco. This is kind of how their friendship kind of started. And Lexi is obviously not really into it. She goes for it at first, though, because she wants to be that friend. She wants to support Rue. She likes the risks that Rue takes, but she doesn't really want to go down that path. And I thought this was all really great stuff to see, from her perspective. A lot of this episode is showing like how hard is it to be that observer, someone that is taking in so much information, someone who is, witnessing so many key events, and it never directly affects her, but she feels so guilty for so much of it. And I think with Rue, there's always that guilt that she feels like maybe I could have done something to stop this, maybe I could have done more. And I thought it was just really strong what they ended up doing when it came to their overall friendship. I think we needed this context, and I think it made that friendship that much more special overall.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's definitely cool seeing how like drugs push the two of them away from each other.
And you can kind of see a parallel with like Jules as well, because it's like this is someone that Rue was also very close with, and they had a very strong relationship, and drugs has also pushed them away. We do get like 2 scenes with Jules in this episode. I'll be honest, I found this to be kind of unnecessary. I don't really think we needed to see this in this episode because it was just like very brief in that way, but it's definitely gearing up for, I think, some kind of reconciliation between the two. I think they're gonna have some kind of conversation where either they're able to like move past this, or they're just gonna like call it quits and they're just gonna like, you know, grow apart for a bit. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen, but we do see a scene where, you know, Jules is in the bathroom. You can see that Rue wants to talk to her, but the two of them are just not on speaking terms at all. Elliot's there too. We don't really know what's going to happen, but the one thing I do want to take note of is we do actually see Jules, the disc that Nate gave to her, she literally destroys it in this episode. So it seems like it seems like she's trying to like, or get rid of that part of her life and just kind of like move on.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there's definitely gonna be some more Rue and Jules stuff in the next episode.
And honestly, if they were to like split the two of them up like in season 3, I'm honestly fine for that, because I won't lie, I don't think Jules as a character has had the strongest arc this season. She's very much just been like, you know, Rue's girlfriend, kind of going through, you know, the you know, her whole shit and how she really deals with it, but then also getting looped in with Elliot and having an attraction to him. So if they like move away from that for a bit and focus more on like their individual characters, I think it's going to make them, like Jules especially as a character, like that much stronger, because I know a lot of people have not felt as attached to this character this season, and it's kind of understandable to see why.
Yeah, like most of the major storylines this season, except for like the Nate and Cassie thing, have revolved around Rue.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very much so. So yeah, I think that's all we're gonna say in terms of like the Rue and Lexi of it all. The majority of this obviously revolves around Lexi's relationship with Cassie. We've seen before that Cassie isn't really the greatest sister to Lexi, that Lexi almost feels like she, you know, wants to be like Cassie, but we don't really, I think we really got to see here, you know, why Lexi feels this way towards Cassie. Why do these two have such a fractured relationship? And it's again because their perceptions were completely different, where Cassie was someone who always saw her dad through rose-colored glasses. You know, Lexi really saw just how broken of a man that he really was. Never really gave her the love that he wanted, never really had that true connection with her dad. And it's really sad to see, you know, and seeing Cassie, someone that you know, guys were constantly fawning over, believing that she was going to turn out like her, and then she didn't. I mean, it's definitely really sad to see. And again, yeah, obviously it's kind of surface level in that way, but it makes sense for Lexi's character, because she's seen, you know, what she can only think of the perception of her sister, where the perception of her sister is that, you know, everyone seems to love her. She's like, you know, perfect and things like that. But she also has a tendency to not really treat Lexi all that well. And I liked what we ended up getting when it came to those two overall.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see like the parallels with like season 1, episode 7. You'd see like their dad
especially the
used
ice
to
cream.
visit. Yeah.
Like her like Cassie seen as like a fond memory, and then for Lexi it's like kind of horrifying to think about. I thought that was a really good parallel. I also love like the scene where, like, you know, Cassie's dancing with her dad, and then Lexi kind of, you know, her you know, their dad tells Lexi to join, and she's like very hesitant to. I thought that stuff was all really great. I really liked what we got there. But the other big part of this, of course, it was when it comes to Maddie. We get a lot more insight in this episode as well, why the friendship between Maddie and Cassie is so important. Because I know throughout a lot of the season, I've seen a lot of people be like, why are these two even friends? Like, why is Cassie, why would Maddie even want to be friends with someone like Cassie? And I think we really do see it here that, like, Maddie was someone who right off the bat had the confidence that Cassie really didn't. We see in this episode, you know, Cassie has this whole thing where she needs, she depends on men for emotional stability. Like, that's really what it's all about. That's how she represses her emotions. There's literally a scene where she's with Nate, and it was so creepy when she's like telling him specifically, like, you know, tell me what to wear, tell me what to do. Like, that's how far she's willing to go. But the thing with Cassie is that she doesn't ever express these emotions. She represses them. Maddie is the complete opposite. Maddie is confident. Maddie is someone who is very outspoken about what she wants and how she feels. And this is something that Lexi very much gravitated towards. And I don't know if we're going to see more of their like friendship, but I really like the brief scene we got of like Maddie helping out Lexi, because it kind of felt like Maddie was that sister that Lexi needed and never really had.
Yeah, I like seeing that a lot. Like, there's definitely more of them we could be seeing.
I hope it's hinting at more for those two. But of course, the other big thing when it comes to Maddie and Cassie, we find out that at first Lexi was kind of like terrified of Maddie because of her confidence. But what really brought them together is when Maddie's parents started fighting. She moved in for like a couple months, and there's this really now heartbreaking scene where Cassie's like comforting Maddie in bed. Maddie can't fall asleep, and Cassie basically tells her like, you can sleep in my bed for the night. I thought that was a really nice scene, again, really showing like how genuine their friendship was. And then paralleling that with something that I'm very happy we saw. We actually do get to see the fallout of episode 5, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to watch what went down, because while at first we see Maddie say like, I'm going to kill you, open this door, we really start to see just how hurt Maddie is. It's not so much that Maddie is angry at Cassie because she slept with her ex-boyfriend. It's the fact that this is a guy that emotionally and physically abused her, and she doesn't want Cassie to go through the same thing, to lower her standards that much. She cares enough about her to where she doesn't really want her to go through the same thing. And, Alexa Demie in that scene where she is telling her, like, I'd never do this to you, and she's crying. It was really heart-wrenching stuff, because you can see just how genuine that was. And I think there is a part of Cassie that wants to be able to like move on from this, wanted to open that door and say, okay, let's try to move past this. But she just can't, because again, she wants that same love that her dad gave her. And just because Nate is giving her some kind of attention, whether it be toxic, doesn't matter to her. That's what she values more, is that connection. And I think we really just see why this has affected Maddie so much.
Yeah, really sad shit to see. And it was definitely like some bad shit. And
yeah,
I don't know what's gonna happen with those two, but shit.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Oh no, Kevin's gone. No, this is my show.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I like disconnected for a second.
Wow.
I was gonna say I don't know what's really gonna happen between those two, if we're gonna have a fight or if they're misleading us, but we're definitely, I think, gonna see some kind of fallout next week, especially with the way things wrap up in this episode. So we end up getting that, but the other big part of it is after we get this scene with Maddie and Cassie, we actually get the sense that Maddie is talking to Samantha a little bit, and it seems like she's thinking about maybe just moving away from it all. And she doesn't, you can see that she wants to, but she doesn't really know if she can, because of the people that she's going to hurt in doing so. Do you think this is a direction that the show could go into, that Maddie's going to like leave town and kind of like go off on her own? Because do you think that's where they're going?
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure she's like a senior, so she's probably gonna like graduate. So
yeah, definitely. I think that's going to be probably part of season 3, is seeing her and Cassie graduate, and Nate as well. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's fuck you. That's going to be interesting to see if that plays out. But the other stuff to talk about is the way that everyone is reacting to this. First of all, I mean, the various reactions from everyone are some of the best parts of this episode. Maddie starts off, she's like really annoyed that this is a thing, but then slowly like starts to warm up to it. Rue throughout the entire thing seems to be really loving this, which was really interesting to see. The one thing I did forget to talk about with Rue, the scenes with her mom in this episode were very interesting because they felt like they were completely different from what we got last week. Last week we had Leslie be like, desperate to get help for Rue, and then it didn't work out. And here she's at a point where she's just kind of like, it's out of my hands. Like, it's out of my hands. I can't do anything about it. If you're going to continue to use, I'm just going to let you suffer. I don't want to ruin one daughter's. I've already ruined one daughter's life. I don't want to ruin the other. Gia apparently is like getting really bad grades, so she wants to like focus on that. Henry, what did you think of this scene?
It was really sad to see. Like, it appears that Leslie's given up, and really hope that Rue can like take something from that.
Yeah, I don't know if she's actually like serious about it or if she's doing that to see like if Rue actually like wants to recover and if Rue's really gonna like, take to heart what she ended up saying. But I guess we'll have to see, because I do think we're heading down a path with Rue where like she is trying to recover now. She doesn't want to backslide, but she's gonna realize that, she's still gotten herself very deep. There's a lot of things that she needs to get herself out of first, especially like the drug dealing of it all. I think we're going to see more of that next week. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there's still Elordi out there, and there's probably going to be a lot more of that in season 3. So.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get a ton with that in the finale. I know I've heard some people speculate that we might, but I feel like there's a lot we need to get to focus on in the finale, and I don't know if we're gonna have time to focus on that. We only have an hour and 10. The finale is apparently an hour and 10 minutes, and we only have time to focus on. We only have an hour and 10 minutes, and there's a lot we need to focus on. So, So going back to Cassie, though, we see this like brief scene of her where she's now fully dressing like Maddie, and it does not suit her at all because it's not her. Nate's basically telling her how to dress, what to wear, all this stuff, and she wants him to. Like, she wants him to do that. But we get this really weird nightmarish scene with Nate where it starts off, and I thought this was like really well shot the way they did this, where it starts off with him kissing Cassie, and then it's Maddie, and then it's also Jules, all girls that he has unresolved feelings for, but also really diving into how he is still very much struggling with his sexuality. Nate doesn't really know, who he is sexually. There's a lot of things he's still very much wrestling with, and I think this scene really did remind us of that, and the part where like Cal is like climbing on top of him, I think was really just trying to show that like I think Nate is worried he's going to become like his dad. I think Nate has those fears like his father did, how his father was closeted and he doesn't really want to go down the same path, but he also knows like what happened to his father. At least that's how I interpret it. Henry, what did you think of like that whole nightmare thing?
That was some weird shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I don't know. I don't know, maybe like his dad did some shit to him and that's what he was thinking.
Yeah, I heard some people speculate that. I don't know if they're gonna go there. I certainly hope they're not gonna go there, because like this show is already so like dark and depressing. Like I don't really want them to go any darker than that. But we'll see. We'll see if that's what they're setting up. It'd certainly be interesting to dive into, especially with Cal not around. But we'll have to see what ends up happening there. But the big part of it, of course, is the finale of this episode, which is fucking insane. And look, I'll say this right off the bat. You can nitpick the hell out of this episode if you wanted to. I've seen a lot of people complain on Twitter like, oh, how did they have the budget for this and things like that. Like, I don't care. Like, it was well filmed. I don't really care. No, a school would not approve of really any of this, the language that they're saying and things like that. Like, I did the wedding singer in my sophomore year of high school, and we literally had to censor the word ass. Like, that tells you right there. That there's a lot of things that high school would not approve of, but I don't really care because I thought it was still really well put together. Lexi goes as far as to really just mock Nate's and his like toxic masculinity ways, really just showing how like overconfident he is, the hyper masculinity of it all with this locker room scene. And it kind of is reminiscent of episode 2 where everyone's in like the locker room and they're naked and whatnot. It's very reminiscent of that here where they're doing Holding Out on a Hero. And let me just say, this episode really showed me Austin Abrams has been severely underused in this season because, my God, when you utilize his talent, I mean, I did not realize he was playing so many of these characters. I didn't realize that he was playing, Lexi and Cassie's mom. I didn't realize he was playing some of the other ones. Obviously, I knew he was playing the fictionalized version of Nate's, but I didn't realize all the other things he was doing. He was incredible in this episode. I think he was definitely like one of the stars for me.
Yeah, Ethan is quite the actor.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely a lot to do, and who knows, maybe like we'll get a scene with him and Kat in the next episode so that whole thing can be resolved.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I really hope they do literally anything with that because the direction that's headed, I'm not very thrilled with. But this frustrated me that much more that, like, Ethan has not really been utilized that well because we see him, like, he's very happy. He's very confident, way more than he's ever been with Kat. And I really think they could have done more here to show, like, when he's with Kat, he seems happy, but he's not as happy. But when he's like doing theater and things like that, he's a lot more, confident in himself. It just really didn't seem like the show was that interested in exploring Ethan's character at all. And I hope this episode proves that like there's more that needs to be done with him because I think he can be he's like literally the only like male character on the show besides Ali that's not a complete toxic motherfucker. So like, and I think that's something else that they need to very much utilize when they can. But anyway, this whole performance goes down. I also forgot to mention Lexi and Cassie's mom is just eating up this entire performance. And it was so funny to watch, just her like freaking out over everything, being so proud of the entire work that her daughter accomplished. And it made sense for that character of what we've seen before. I mean, nobody was loving this play more than Susie. Like nobody was loving it more than her. And obviously, this really enrages Nate. And I loved Sydney Sweeney's acting choices in this scene because you can see throughout this whole play, Cassie's not really sure what to make of this. She's kind of in disbelief. She seems like she's really like contemplating her feelings. And then it hits and she realizes how she really feels. And I think we're definitely going to see, her react next week. I don't know what she's really going to do, but with the way this ends, with Nate storming out, telling her, I don't want to see you anymore, pack up your shit and leave. It was crazy. And it ends on the worst note, and we end on a to be continued. So who knows what the hell is going to happen here? Where do you think this is going?
Yeah, like there's definitely the finale is going to be a lot.
Yeah. Like, I think it's going to be a real turning point for Cassie. I think so.
Sure.
Like, I think whatever she does in the finale, I think is really going to be dependent on like, where does she go throughout the rest of the show? Like, I don't think, is she going to realize the error of her ways and like try to change things? I don't really think so. I think she's going to cause some shit to like either ruin the play or it's going to happen after the play. And it's going to like leave a really like bad taste in everyone's mouth because it seems like she does something, like at least from the promo, but we'll have to see what ends up happening there. But that's it. That's everything we get in terms of story this week. We tried to do that as we tried to talk about that, I think, in the most organized way possible. But like I said, with an episode like this, it was very hard to do so. I just want to go ahead and applaud Sam Levinson, though, for like directing the hell out of this episode, because he really just did such a great job at making this feel so fantastical, but also just really giving us that proper insights into this character. I think this episode was very well directed. It felt like a play. It wasn't afraid to get really weird. I think the choices that he made a lot of sense, and I thought he overall did a really good job with directing this one, and even having some humor in there when Lexi's backstage and like yelling at everyone. Like, I love the scene where she's like yelling at the lighting guy, and she's like, I'm gonna replace you, and he's like, wait, who would I be replaced with? And she can't really come up with anyone. I think that was like a really great moment for me. So I thought overall this was like easily, I think, one of the best directed episodes of the season for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like lines between like reality and fiction are very blurred here, and to a great amount, and it's very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I think the writing, again, like I said, was also very strong this episode. Just seeing a lot more context into not just who Lexi is, but her relationships with some characters. The one with Maddie especially is very intriguing, and I hope we're able to see more of that moving forward in either next episode or season 3. There's a connection between these two that we really haven't seen before, and I wish we could see more of that. But also just really getting the sense of like who Lexi is now. We know that Lexi, yes, she's the observer, but it's a lot more than that. You know, she used to have these friendships. She used to be very close with Rue. She used to be very close with Maddie, and it seems like they've kind of fallen out. And I think, with who Lexi is, I think her main, sort of arc on the rest of the show is going to be trying to rekindle some of those bonds. And I think Rue, especially, it's going to be a big part of season 3. I think is those two trying to like reconcile whatever differences they had.
Yeah, like I hope that this play really opens up the door for like these relationships to be fixed, and
yeah, we'll see what ends up coming of that. But my God, the cinematography in this episode was easily some of the best, I think, of the entire show, especially when it comes to the way certain scenes were staged. You didn't know what was real and what wasn't, and I really love the way that they played with that. They talked about how a lot of this season is playing around with memory, and I think this episode really did dive into that concept quite well. So many just well-staged scenes here. There were scenes, honestly, where I forgot that this isn't Sydney Sweeney acting. Like, this isn't Zendaya acting. This is the actress that is playing them, in the play. And I thought they did such a great job with staging that. The whole holding out for a hero sequence was also incredible. Just so many great scenes in this episode. And like I said, yes, you can absolutely complain about the fact that like this play had a much higher budget than like most school plays for sure. But with just how stylized everything was and how well shot everything was, I definitely will not be one of those people. I think this is easily one of the most visually stunning episodes of Euphoria yet.
For sure. It was good ass play.
Oh yeah, but we haven't even seen the second act yet. Who knows what's gonna happen? Or maybe Cassie's gonna ruin it before it happens. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about the score in this episode. Something interesting to note. I was Shazamming a lot of the score here because I really liked it. Every single piece of music that you heard, aside from like the needle drops, are all from like French films. And I thought that was a really interesting touch. Like the overture and things like that, that's from a movie called Amoro Mio Ayotami. There's another one from something called Francis Lay. and it's Vivra por Vivra. That's one of the tracks it plays. I thought it was a really interesting touch. I always like what this show does when it comes to music, and I like that the score was very different in this episode. It very much reminded me of, like, say, the Carnival episode where they had a much different score throughout, except this wasn't an original score. This was just sampling, different tracks from, like, French films. And I thought that was a really interesting sort of touch that they did here. It gave this episode, like, its very own sort of look and feel. And I really enjoyed that about the score in this episode.
Yeah, it's cool touch that they had. Definitely.
Yeah, I was like, because like I said, I was Shazamming and I was like, what the hell? These are literally all like French movies. And I thought that was kind of cool that they did that. But the editing in this episode, again, obviously this episode is like purposefully messy. This episode is purposefully kind of disjointed in that way. And I thought it very much did work. I think my only issue with this episode is I think just the stuff with like Rue and Jules didn't really need to be here. It's kind of just like we're setting up for next week. I think we could have waited to see, especially like Jules breaking the disc and things like that. I think we could have waited to see that next week. But I understand, obviously you want to see Rue. There was a little bit of narration with Rue at some point. I thought it was kind of pointless. But overall, I think this was definitely one of the strongest episodes of the season. That does not take away from that at all. Maude Apatow really just was such a great acting showcase for her, but also for Austin Abrams. I think those two, really just proved how great of actors they can be in this show. It's one of the most visually stunning episodes of Euphoria. It gave us so much more context into Lexi's life and the key relationships that really, guide her life and how she really feels being that observer. I think all of that was played into very well here. I don't really know where we're heading into in the finale, what's going to happen to Fesco, how is Cassie going to react to what just happened? That's all stuff that remains to be seen, but I'm definitely gearing up for something explosive. I don't really know what's going to happen, but either way, I think this was easily one of the strongest episodes of the season. So I'm going to give this week's episode of Euphoria, season 2, episode 7, The Theater and Its Double, an A. All right, so that's it for this review. But before we do close things out, Henry, you know what time it's for. You're gonna go ahead and plug your socials here. So go ahead.
Time for bed.
At 10:32.
Right. Oh yeah, you can find me on the Twitters and Instagrams at Henzo Ewing, and I actually just changed my Snapchat to that as well, so you can add me. And Letterboxd is Henry Ewing, and DM me for BB Wow Now apps.
Oh God, no! Oh God, nobody wants to see that. That is like that's horrifying to think about. Like those characters playing Big Brother, like how would they even compete? Like they don't even move properly. Most of them.
It's just every comp would just be a dance off.
I'm imagining the one that's like always dancing like this, and he's just like every competition, he's just like standing there. Oh Jesus Christ!
That's like the nightmare.
Wow Now Entertainment is it's quite the studio.
Oh, yeah. Great studio.
If you want to go down that rabbit hole, I don't recommend it, but if you do, it's kind of a fun time. It's slightly disturbing, but you know what? I still would overall I guess recommend it. I'm not really sure, but either way, we're getting off track here. That's it for our review of this week's episode of Euphoria. I can't believe the finale is next week, but I'm very excited to see how everything does play out. That's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you guys in our next video, and we will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.
To be continued.
Oh yeah, with the Cannibal Holocaust theme. That was also a very rare.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. See you then.